sounds of acceleration.
And this is our kind of acceleration.
This is George Hurst. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the 10th anniversary National Championship Drag Races here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. In this album, you will, for the first time, really be on the inside. You will hear interviews with competitors and top track officials. You will also follow Oklahoman Jimmy Nix through the Nationals from tech check-in to final run. The sounds you will hear are the wildest ever recorded. As is the practice at Hurst, we also introduce an exclusive feature, full-time narration. Here to bring you the highlights of this, the biggest of all drag events, is John Lundberg, the voice of drag racing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurst. A few weeks before the NHRA Nationals, we were able to get an exclusive interview between two of the best-known personalities in the drag racing sport today. Don Garlits from Florida was campaigning his car on the East Coast, and he came to our microphones to be questioned by the publisher of Hot Rod magazine, Ray Brock. Immediately after this interview, we go directly to the Speedway Shopping Center for technical check-in. But right now, let's take that interview between Big Daddy Don Garlits and the publisher of Hot Rod magazine, Ray Brock.
Don, first of all, congratulations. You're the first man to go 200 miles an hour in the quarter in a dragster. And looks as though you have found the key to all of your little problems you've had in the past. What's the big difference between 193, 194 miles an hour and 200 miles an hour? Is it just another couple of miles, or is it really something different as far as driving the car?
The difference, it depends on where you're sitting, in the spectator stands or in the driver's seat. As from the driver's seat, the difference in the ride is phenomenal. The first ride that I took down the quarter that ran 199.54, I was amazed at the forces that were generated in the car from the 8th mile through the timing lights.
It really pins you back in the seat, does it?
That's right, and besides that, the car is sort of heads on a ballistic course. You can't do much for turning it, and the vision, your side vision goes completely away. Everything is just a sort of a gray blur, and then the strip looks very narrow and very fine as you go into the shutoff area.
I imagine that chute really, you're really happy you have that thing sitting behind you. Does it give you a pretty good jolt with that extra 5 or 6 miles an hour speed?
That's right, and the fact of the matter is, with this extra speed, I've been letting the chute out a little late. This lets the car speed down just a little bit before the chute hits me, because if I let it out right in the timing lights at this high speed, it just really puts a jerk on the car and the force on your body in the cockpit.
How long have you been drag racing, Don?
I've been drag racing since 1950 and 51. That's when I got
started. As I recall, your first drag machine was a little flathead, more or less a roadster without a body type operation. It wasn't really a true dragster, was it?
That's right. It was just T-rails with the engine moved all the way back to the rear, and the driver kind of set up on the rear end. And it was, they called them rails in those days because they were usually built on Model T rails.
How fast did you go on the first one?
108 miles an hour in 12.5 seconds.
The chassis have changed quite a bit, haven't they? As I recall, they went down here a few years ago to where they were down around 88, 92 inches, something like that, and now everybody's going the other direction. They're stretching them out. How long is yours? What's the wheelbase?
This wheelbase is 143 inches on this car, which is not the longest, but it's of the longer of the good cars. A lot of the cars are still around 130 to 135, which works real good as long as, but as you said, 89, 90, and 100, that's just too short for anything that accelerates with the force that one of these cars accelerates at.
How about the compression ratios? It's just like wheelbases. They've gone up and down on that too now, haven't they?
That's right. They got to calling the compression ratios like the limbo dance here about a year ago. Wanted to know how low you could go. And some of the fellows were clear down to 4 to 1, including ourselves. And it just didn't make any difference. You just had to keep putting more and more nitro in, and the car didn't go any faster. So this was definitely a wrong approach to this thing. Now I'm back up to approximately 8.2 to 1, and this seems to be the way to go. The car works much better, runs better, and uses less nitro.
How much nitro do you use?
Well, we're talking about 85 to 90% now.
And all that with a big GMC blower on top of it gets pretty pretty violent action down inside those cylinders, doesn't it?
That's right. There's some real forces being generated inside that engine, and if it wasn't for the fact that it's got a great big iron girdle on the bottom of it, it would probably push the crank right out of the bottom of the block.
Well, now in the area of the block, you've also gone back or regressed a few years, so to speak, because you're back now to stock bore and stroke on this Chrysler engine, more or less, except for clearances. And I remember here a couple of years ago, everybody was trying to see who could go farthest over 500 cubic inches.
That's absolutely right, Ray. We found that the smaller engine is easier to fill the cylinders down in the lights at the 7,000 RPM bracket that we're working in than it is to fill the big cylinder. So if you can't fill the big cylinder, you're just hurting yourself by running a big engine, because it has the longer stroke and higher piston speeds, and these things are against you.
Mm-hmm. I also noticed that the latest trend is to turn the exhaust up, to sweep it up. Is that to carry the smoke out of your face so you can see it a little better when you're coming off the line?
There's several reasons for that, and that's the main purpose, and that was my purpose for installing the pipes, was to blow the smoke up so I could drive the car full throttle right off the line without being blinded. I never have been one that wanted to drive down the strip and not be able to see where I was going. But then the exhaust have done some other things too. They are claiming that they warm the tires a little bit during the first part of the race, which helps the traction a little bit. Secondly, the little balls of rubber that twirl around in front of the tires that are in this smoke screen, they're blown back, so the car is running on a clean strip of pavement. And then last of all, down in the lights, we think that we're getting a little bit of wind deflection off of the top of the slicks by the use of these pipes.
The exhaust itself is giving you a streamlined airflow over the rear tires, is that right?
We believe that, and that must be so, because the pipes, even without the terrible smoke deal, it still decreases you a couple miles an hour to remove them from the car. So this has to be the only reason for this.
This new car you have, what's unique about it, other than the fact that it is a first automobile to get an official 200-mile-an-hour clocking?
Well, it's unique in the fact that we're going back to some other theories that were actually in the beginning of drag racing, that I think that the main line of the dragster owners and builders got off the track, and we're all kind of, drag racing is a kind of a follow the leader game. And so we were running 191 and 192 and 3, and it just seemed like nothing we did made any difference. So I thought about it considerably and went back over the different things that we'd made changes in through the years. We keep a kind of a diary on this drag racing of all the cars that we've run and different times that they've turned and where we think they've made better runs. And it seemed to point back to the fact that back about a year and a half or 2 years ago, the guys all got off on the wrong idea of the concept. So we made some changes. We moved the engine, we moved the driver around, we changed the blower drive, the pistons, the camshaft timing, just made some radical changes. But actually we're going back and going up another avenue to the of approach to this problem. And right away it started running much faster. It went 196 and 197. We knew then that an increase like that, we were definitely on the right track. More changes, more piston changes, more cam changes, more blower drive changes, and zap 200.
Okay, Don, well, best of luck to you.
Thank you, Ray.
Good morning. It's Wednesday morning, September 2nd. We're standing here in the middle of the Speedway Shopping Center in Indianapolis, Indiana, as the first day of the NHRA National Championship Drags gets underway, and it's inspection time. The entire parking lot is crowded with cars of every various size, description, and body style that's available in drag racing. And right now we're standing beside a very impressive looking setup. The Dodge boys, Jenkins and Strickler, and right in front of me here is Dave Strickler, the driver of the 4-speed Hemi Dodge. And first question I'd like to ask Dave is, the first part of the year, Dave, you had a little trouble getting the car moving. One of the reasons, I suppose, is because of the rather, shall we say, weighty 4-speed transmission you had. But all of a sudden we read in several of the national publications, in particular an article in National Dragster last week, that you've been in the tens. To what do you attribute the sudden lowering of your ET?
Well, we installed a 210 Warner transmission. That was a 220 ratio low gear instead of the 2.66 new process Chrysler transmission. It seemed to give us a better ratio the whole way through the quarter of a mile rather than just the initial jump. We can control the speed and engine-wise the whole way through the quarter mile now.
Well, you're driving one of the new Hemi type Dodges, and it's been our experience, or several people have told us anyway, that the T10 Borg-Warner 4-speed is rather a light-duty gearbox. Do you think it'll stand up under the type of shifting you're going to have to do?
Well, so far we have approximately 25 runs in this one transmission without any trouble. Now, it's definitely lighter gear-wise than the Chrysler transmission, but it hasn't given us any trouble yet.
Well, then you feel that that the 266 low was just a little bit too tall, and you're willing to take the chance to get the 220 low gear out of the chute. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, what do you feel is going to be? And here's a kind of a loaded question to ask you, Dave. But what do you feel is going to be the winning ET in AFX this year? Do you think it'll be down in the 10s, or is it going to be more like a low 11-second shot?
Well, there's a chance it might be 1099 or something like that, but I have a feeling it's going to be 11-1, 11-2.
Well, that's just about, quite frankly, our own opinion. I'm glad you expressed it. Do you feel that perhaps on the asphalt here at IRP that you can get this car in the 10s perhaps in a warm-up run?
Oh, I think there'll be a few AFXers in the 10s.
You think you'll be one of them?
I hope so.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave Strickler, and good luck.
Thank you.
Standing here now at the south edge of the shopping center, talking and are going to speak with a young gentleman from Oakland, California, who's done a fantastic job with the Melrose Missile, Tom Grove. Tom, the car was running in the low 11s, and all of a sudden you jumped down to the 1080s and 1070s. To what do you attribute this sudden drop in ET?
We took the automatic out and put the 4-speed in.
Are you using the new lightweight Borg-Warner T10, or are you still using the Chrysler New Process 4-speed?
We're using the Chrysler New Process.
How much horsepower do you figure you're getting out of your Hemi engine?
Well, that would be kind of hard to say. The factory rates it at 425, and our old car with the wedge engine had more than that, so we haven't had this one on the dyno yet.
Would you say that we're well within the area, if not just slightly over the 500 horsepower figure?
I'd say it's more than slightly over.
Very good. Is there any particular area of your Plymouth here that you've developed any more than any other, or is it just a complete preparation of the entire car?
It's just a complete preparation of the entire car. It's just blueprinted from the front to the back, and all the rest of them, they're running the same parts we are. They just probably don't get them in the right places.
I see. Well, this seems to be quite a point, because I noticed that in all of the Chrysler technical bulletins and all of the advice you get from the factory, this is what they tell you. In other words, don't go out and buy super bump stick camshafts, and don't go out and buy a $1,700 boring bar. Just pull the engine apart, pull the car apart, and if you 100% blueprint it, that's about all you can do. Do you find this to be the case?
That's very true. Right, what it says in the factory brochure, if you follow that, you'll never go wrong.
What kind of ETs do you figure you'll be turning at this meet, Tom?
Well, we ran at Indy approximately a week and a half ago, and we ran down as low as 1093, so I expect to be in the 10s this meet.
What kind of ET do you think it's going? Do you think will be turned on a winning run for AFX?
Probably be an 11.0.
I see. Are you running the new Gold Bar M&H's, or have you got the old style hard tires?
Well, I'm not going to say what tires we're running or compounds or anything.
In other words, somebody shipped you something wrapped in brown paper and you're going to run it, huh?
That's about what it amounts to.
Well, congratulations and good luck to you, Tommy Grove.
Thank you.
We have a gentleman with us now who perhaps can explain some of the intricacies involved in getting actually physically into the Nationals after the entry fee and the entry blank have been received and mailed back. Jack Hart, the executive director of NHRA, is with us. And Jack, I'd like to ask you, how have you alleviated some of the problems concerned with getting all these cars through classification, and who are the guys working, and what actually is physically involved in getting a car checked into the Nationals?
Well, John, it's been quite a little problem to work it out, and we're still working on things so that they move smoother, but to take the over 1,000 entries and get them through in 3 days, we've worked out what we think is a pretty simple system. We start them down there at the tech area, they get in the tech lines, and they go through. We have a well-trained crew of tech men, most of whom have worked 3 or 4 or 5 of these events and are actually tech men in their own areas. And they go over the car and check it. They don't tell them in what they have to do, but if they, for instance, don't have a roll bar or a scatter shield, why, they mark it on the tech inspection sheet. Then instead of having them fix it then, they send them across the scales where their weight is checked and they're sent through classification. At that time, if there's anything marked on the tag, they're sent back down here to reject area where we have our National Tech Director and the more knowledgeable members of our tech crew, our division tech directors, and they go over and tell them what they need to fix and how they need to fix it. That way they can fix it all at one time if they have any problems. This morning I'm quite pleased to find we've had very, very few rejects.
In other words, you find it perhaps even more than in past years that you're really getting a fine crew of really safe drag racing automobiles through your tech lines, right?
That is correct. This seems to be the best we've ever had, and that we're real happy with.
Well, thank you very, very much, Mr. Hart. We're more than happy to talk to you this morning. Odd lot single behind the class. At present time, our number 1 microphone is right at the finish line. The number 2 microphone is about, I would say, 60 to 75 feet from there, right at the final mile-per-hour light. So it would be 66 feet from the finish line. And our number 3 microphone is approximately the same distance from there, between 60 and 70 feet. We're trying to catch the sounds of cars as they cross the finish line and accelerate towards you. We hope to get some good chute-popping sequences on the big fuel dragsters as they come by. Our setup here at well over 190 miles an hour. The sound that you just heard was that of the Crosley, Williams, and Swan A-Fuel dragster from Bakersfield, California, driven by Jack Williams. Williams just completed a quarter mile at 7.93 seconds and 193 miles per hour. $8.79 for the winner. 179 miles an hour. As these boys came through the end of the quarter mile, apparently they're having a little problem with packing these car cross-form chutes. I suppose if we were to describe the car cross-form to you, it would look most like a large cross, and that's what it is actually. 2 large panels of nylon crossed at the center. If they're not packed properly by the driver, they will begin to oscillate after the chute comes out. And they spill quite a bit of air out of them that way, and it's doggone difficult to slow one of these dragsters down at the proper rate of speed of slowing down if the chute is not packed properly. This is just one of the many little points that make for true professional drag racing, and it takes quite a while to assimilate the knowledge to do this properly. There's no book written on drag racing as to how to win, just on how to build and hope for the best. B dragster breaking them up, coming towards the finish line there. We have with us now probably the busiest man here at Indianapolis Raceway Park this weekend, the president of the National Hot Rod Association, Mr. Wally Parks. We stopped Wally on a trip down to the finish line here to check on some details down there. Wally, the first question I'd like to ask you today is, one of the most outstanding developments in the 1964 drag racing season has been the new National Hot Rod Association driver licensing program. Could you give us a brief explanation of what it involves and why it was initiated in the first place?
This is the first year that we have introduced our driver's licensing program, John, and the primary purpose for the thing was to try to safeguard the drivers in the higher speed, more critical classes. It applies to the big AA fuel dragsters and the top gas dragsters particularly, and is simply a means of screening these drivers and checking out to see that they have the proper experience to go out there and run before they get involved in the actual competition run. The interesting details about the program is it's the licensed drivers themselves who regulate it, because we have a requirement where a new applicant for a license must submit his application, and it takes 2 licensed drivers and the strip manager to observe his driver's tests and approve them before the license is then issued. Should point out that there's no cost involved for the driver's license. This is a free thing. They don't have to be a member of any organization. The main thing they have to do is to demonstrate their capability to go out and drive, and we found now that the thing has become popular, that the other classes on down the line are requesting the privilege of applying for licenses, and so we have opened the thing up now to classes clear on down the line, far below the dragster divisions. And it looks like it's going to be a good answer to maintaining safety in the sport.
What limitation as far as potential performance do you feel will be placed in the licensing system? In other words, are we going to stick with strictly the modified classes? It's projected by several of the technical people in the sport that pretty soon the factory experimental and superstock divisions will be fielding cars capable of speeds somewhere in the area of 135 miles an hour. Would then your licensing program move into this area also?
Very definitely. In fact, in 1965, you'll find that the FX cars are required to have roll bars and shoulder harnesses and a lot of additional safety factors.
Well, Wally, we've enjoyed interviewing you very much here today. We realize that you're an extremely busy man, and we want to let you get back to overseeing the meet here. And once again, we have been interviewing Wally Parks, president of the National Hot Rod Association, whose crew and members, technical staff have done such a fantastic job here. And the only thing we can say to you, Wally, in closing is congratulations on a fantastically successful drag race.
Thank you, John. I'm awful glad you could be out here with us, and I hope you enjoy your good ringside seat.
Oh, we certainly will. Thank you. One of the most famous people in automobile racing in years past is a 3-time Indianapolis winner, Maury Rose. And with him was his son, Maury Rose Jr., just out of the Army. And Maury has a kind of an interesting story to tell about why they're down here and under what circumstances they came. Maury, first of all, we were just talking a couple of seconds ago, and you mentioned that your car isn't even done yet. Is that right?
That's right. We brought it down to Detroit last night. We got in this morning 1:30. We just didn't have time to finish it, so we figured we'd get down and we'll finish it here.
Well, Maury Jr., this is caused by the fact that you just got out of the Army. Is that right?
That's right. We've had 1 week approximately to put the car together, which makes it a little rough.
Oh, brother, I guess it does. Who built the engine for you?
Well, Dad and I built it. We built our own engines.
Let me ask you this. How long do you figure it's going to take you to get your car in runnable shape so that you can get out there and take some time trials with it?
We'll have the car running tonight, this evening, and we're going to drive it slowly up, on the road here to wearing the rings. And Maury will be here, I'm sure, at 8 o'clock in the morning for inspection. From then on, it's up to him.
One question I'd like to ask you, Maury. You spent the greater part of your life racing on asphalt circle tracks and in dust bowls and everything else. What's an old round track man doing drag racing?
This is more fun than you can imagine. I'm telling you, I really enjoy being part of the team with Maury, and we've been doing this a couple of years. It is real fun. You meet a lot of swell people, and I enjoy it. This is a hobby. Cars, making your own and going, and if it goes, good. If it don't, well, fix it. It's a challenge, but I tell you, it's real fun. Okay?
Well, thank you very much, Maury Rose Sr. and Maury Rose Jr. Good luck to you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Right now we're talking to a young gentleman from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, who has come in the past few years right to the absolute top, I suppose, if anybody can get there, of gas dragster racing. And the young gentleman's name is Jimmy Nixon. Have you gone through tech inspection yet?
No.
You mind if we follow you?
Oh, I'd be tickled to death to have you. Maybe I'll swing a little of that weight around.
Thank you, sir. We're standing here right now talking to the man who inspected Jimmy Nick's dragster, Don Garlits, one of the NHRA technical inspection officials. Don, how did Jimmy's car check out?
Real well.
Did you find anything wrong with the basic construction or any small safety points that have to be checked? Or is the car pretty well constructed as he brought it here?
The car was well constructed as he brought it in.
Very good. Well, we're going to move on up. Thank you very much, Don.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy's car is a Rod Stuckey chassis powered by a 370 cubic inch Chevrolet V8. It runs in the A gas dragster class, and the approximate weight of the car, as signed by gentleman Jimmy Nix, is 1,075 pounds. We're now about to move up and get it weighed.
Jimmy's car just passed through at 1,055 pounds.
From this point, Jimmy Nix proceeded up to the NHRA classification trailer, turned in all of his technical inspection slips, and was classified in AA gas dragster. Jimmy then traveled out to the track at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and on the third day of qualifying proceeded to set low elapsed time of the meet on gasoline at 8:41. Jim also qualified for his NHRA driver's license during the competition out there and will be entering future events as a fully licensed NHRA driver. On the tower side this time, Jimmy Nix coming up. This is the boy we followed so far. He qualified low on gas for a gas eliminator at 8:41. And against him is the Firebird in the spectator lane. Jimmy Nix on the inside lane qualified once again low EP on gas at 8:41. Here we go. Right in competition here. He's running hard. Winner Jimmy Nix. A good run. 8:56 for Jimmy Nix. 151.26 miles an hour. Jimmy shut off just as he went into the mile-per-hour lights. One of the most interesting runs, if it can be called that, of the entire meet occurred Sunday during Seagas Dragster Trophy Run. Little Pat Carson came to the starting line in his injected Chrysler-powered Seagas Dragster, and as the tree went green, off two cars charged. Pat's competitor fouled, and Pat crossed the starting line, and then the car bogged. Pat had to get out of the car and then push the machine all the way through the quarter mile. I had just stopped Wally Parks, president of NHRA, when this occurred. We pick up the action now as Carson starts to push his rail all the way down the quarter mile. Wally, this is fantastic.
John, there's one little technical requirement here. In order to have the privilege of pushing that car on through, the car has to come over the starting line under its own power. If it had died behind the starting line, he would have been disqualified. But as you saw, he ran about 10 feet across the line, the engine died, and he's out there doing that pushing job right now.
Fantastic operation. The crowd is really behind this guy. Pushing his car all the way down the quarter mile by hand. And believe me, that 1,400 to 1,500 pounds of that car is going to be awfully heavy by the time he gets to the end of the quarter mile, and he is not stopping anyway down the line. There are 30,000 people here at Indianapolis Raceway Park today, and every single one of them is up on their feet wishing the driver of that Sea Dragster all the luck in the world as he goes down the quarter mile. Boy, it's a long one. He's pushing a 1,500-pound car all the way to the end of the quarter mile, and that boy is going to be one tired lad when he crosses the finish line. He's getting very, very close now, and I think there'll be quite a yell from the crowd when this boy finally completes the quarter mile. Everybody's going down there to get pictures of him and try to talk with him a little bit. He's moving towards the finish line now, and in just a second the wind light should go on saying he's completed the quarter mile. Seconds. 218 seconds for the quarter mile, and there's a mighty tired Sea Dragster driver at the end of the quarter mile right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a real interesting man standing with us on our number 3 microphone now. This is Pat Carson, whose Sea Dragster bogged on the starting line, and Pat just finished pushing it an entire 1,320 feet down the quarter mile. Pat, you're pretty beat, aren't you?
I sure am. It's a long walk.
What happened? Was the RPM up, or did the engine load up, or what?
The engine loaded up. The plugs are fouled out.
I see. Well, I'll tell you, if guts and determination has anything to do with the trophy, it's this man that deserves it. Thank you very much. the way, we just got a good look at Pat Carson, and he can't be over 5'3", and he must weigh no more than 125 pounds. So you figure the kind of determination that this particular competitor has here at the NHRA Nationals. All right, here comes the first round of Top Fuel Eliminator. In lane number 1, Crosley, Williams, and Swan from Bakersfield, California. Jack Williams at the wheel. Number 1 car on the West Coast, and against him, last year's gas champion, Bobby Bosnick, driving Big Bell Body Shadow in lane number 2. Crosley, Williams, and Swan against the Shadow. Crosley, Williams, and Swan are in the tower lane. Here we go. Let's see what's up. It's close, winner, Crosley, Williams, and Swan. Jack Williams, the winner, a beautiful run. 7:91, the elapsed time for the winner. 7:91 for Jack Williams. 197 miles per hour for the winner, Jack Williams. A beautiful run. All right, coming out of the tower lane, a swing and race this time. Weekly, Rivero, Fox, and Holding from California in their single 8-fuel dragster, a 360 cubic inch fuel-injected supercharged fuel-burning Chrysler. Out against them is George Van at the wheel of Jojo Nocentino's 8-fuel dragster. Nocentino from the east in the spectator lane. Norm Weekly from the west in the tower lane. The engines are up. It's going to be close. It's horsepower. Weekly, Rivero, Fox, and Holding winner. Here it comes, a swing and a lapse time. Here's a little lapse time of the meet. 7:73 by Norm Weekly. 198.22 miles per hour. And the winner, a beautiful run by Norm Weekly. Norm Weekly running a 360 cubic inch fuel-injected supercharged Chrysler engine has just gone 7:73 to set the low elapsed time of the meet, and a fantastic run. All right, here comes top speed of the meet. Holder at the present time, Connie Coletta in the tower lane from Mount Clemens, Michigan, at the wheel of the AA fuel dragster, the Bounty Hunter. From Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the spectator lane, the Stuckey frame car of Tom Hoover, the Hoover Wheel Alignment Special. Both AA fuel Chryslers. Coletta, a real runner here. Let's see what happens. Tom Hoover against Connie Coletta. To the end of the quarter mile. Coletta followed out 8:03, 190.66 miles per hour. But Tom Hoover won. 9:42 was his elapsed time. He shut off early. Boy, that's too bad. Connie Coletta, a real favorite at this meet, set top speed of the meet, but he followed out on that run, and Tom Hoover goes on to further competition. Here comes Gordon Collett in the spectator lane. Cue ball Wales in the tower lane. Supercharged fuel-injected Chryslers ready to go in the first round of Top Gas Eliminator. Here they come up to the starting line. Gordon Collett on the spectator side. Cue ball Wales in the tower lane. Cue ball Wales has not got the horsepower. He bugged it, and the winner is Gordon Collett. 8:50 for Gordy Collett on that run. 182.18 miles per hour. Okay, here comes another round, or another heat of the first round of Top Gas Eliminator. Jimmy Nix in the tower lane. The quickest car on gas of the meet at 8.40 seconds. On the outside spectator lane, it's George Boltoff from California. Top speed of the car, top speed of the meet on gasoline at 185 miles per hour. The quickest car on gas is the best car on gas. Here they go. And it's Jimmy Nix. Falls in his out. Too bad for Jimmy Nix. Here comes Jimmy. Jimmy wins the race at the end of the quarter mile, but he lost because he fouled at the starting line. So George Boltoff wins it. George Boltoff at 870, 182.18 miles per hour for George Boltoff. Well, tough luck for our little friend from Oklahoma, Jimmy Nix, the boy that we followed through this event from check-in to the last run here, and he just made his last run as he beat George Boltoff to the end of the quarter mile, but he left too soon and fouled the Christmas tree, so he is out of the meet. Okay, here comes the last heat in the first round of Top Fuel Eliminator. In the tower lane, lane number 1, Joe Schubeck from Lakewood, Ohio, and against him is Maynard Rupp from Detroit in the Logie Brothers A-Fuel Dragster. Joe made it into Top Fuel Eliminator as an alternate when the Ram Chargers flew their A-Fuel Dragster. So it's Maynard Rupp in the spectator lane, Joe Schubeck in the tower lane. Quarter mile in the lead. Rupp coming on hard at the end of the quarter mile. Winner Schubeck. Joe Schubeck went 785 for the win. Speed 187.10 miles per hour. Coming up to our microphones now is a rather disgusted man. A guy who raced against Big Daddy Don Garlits yesterday for AA Fuel Dragster Trophy and lost by just hundredths of a second to him and was figured to be one of the top guys for Top Fuel Eliminator today. Conrad Kalita. Connie, you had some rough luck in the first round by fouling out. What happened? Didn't the brake hold or what went on?
Well, I still haven't really figured it out.
Some of the boys passed here that were down at the end of the quarter mile and said that you were kind of fuming around inside of the car. What was going on?
Oh, just sort of disgusted, mad at myself. I knew it happened when I left the starting line. I looked over. In fact, I let off the throttle just when I was going by, and I looked at the red light, and I just, disgusted all the way down the strip.
Well, that's too bad, Conrad. You now hold the top speed record of the particular meet here at 200 miles an hour. How does it feel when you're up there around 200 miles per hour? Are you really in another world, as many of the guys say?
Oh, it's hairy.
Real hairy, huh?
It's got a lot of hair on it, and if the chute don't open, you're in real trouble. You're sitting back waiting on the parachute to open, and everything seems to be keen. The cars handle real good at that speed because they're accelerating so hard. There's no real problem, but you know you're going fast. Everything's a great big blur, really.
Well, thank you very much for stopping by here, Conrad. We're sorry about that tough luck, and better luck next year.
Very good, John.
Coming to the starting line now from Detroit, Michigan, the Ram Chargers Dodge. Jim Thornton, last year's stock car champion at the wheel. And against them, also from Detroit, the Wild, Wild Plymouth of the Golden Commandos, driven by John Delafiore. So it's going to be a good run here. Ram Chargers, one of the lowest ET stalkers of the meet. It's going to be a good run. Down goes the tree. Plymouth the Dodge accelerating out. And the Golden Commandos foul out on the start. And Jim Thornton backing right off the throttle, going to the end of the quarter mile. John Delafiore fouls. The Ram Chargers take it at 8. Ram Chargers take it at 11:49 and 1:29:43. Okay, here we go with the top stock eliminator run of the 10th anniversary NHRA National Championship drag races. 2 Dodges will compete here, both 426 cubic inch Hemi head Dodge Coupes. Pulling up to the starting line will be the Ram Chargers, last year's 1963 Mr. Stock Eliminator, Jim Thornton at the wheel. Against him, also from the Detroit area, will be the Wild Dodge of Dick Branstner, Color Me Gone, driven by Roger Lindemood. Now, at the present time, both cars are 15 1/100ths of a second apart in elapsed time. In the semi-final round, the Ram Chargers ran 11:31 and Color Me Gone ran 11:45. So that's how it stands. The next sound you will hear will be that of the Mr. Stock Eliminator run here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Okay, here we go. Here's a cheer for Color Me Gone. A big cheer for Color Me Gone as they come to the starting line. Here's a cheer for the Ram Chargers. And the crowd is definitely in favor of Color Me Gone, a big Dodge in the spectator lane. Both cars, 1964 Dodge 330 two-door sedans. Both with the new Chrysler Corporation Hemi head engines in them. Roger Lindemood at the wheel of Dick Branstner's Color Me Gone in the spectator lane. And last year's Mr. Stock Eliminator, Jim Thornton, at the wheel of the original Ram Chargers Dodge in the tower lane. This is it. One of the two big runs of the meet for Mr. Stock Eliminator. A new Ford Mustang to the winner, plus a whole host of other prices. Out of the chute they go. It's a good we could have an upset. It's Color Me Gone in the lead. The Ram Chargers coming on hard. Ram Chargers coming on hard. Winner of the race, Color Me Gone. The Color Me Gone Dodge won it. A big upset and the crowd is overjoyed. 1964, Mr. Stock Eliminator, Roger Lindemood of Warren, Michigan, and the car that did it, Dick Branstner's well-prepared and fantastically tuned Dodge Color Me Gone. A real upset. E.T. for the Color Me Gone Dodge, 11:31 at 127.84. Ram Chargers runners-up, top speed 128.02. 11:31 for Roger Lindemood as Color Me Gone takes top Stock Eliminator. All right, here's the competition Eliminator final. It's Davis and Ingram, the supercharged fuel-injected Chevrolet Fiat of Davis and Ingram from San Jose, California, against Charlie Smith, plain vanilla Chevy engine injected Roadster. Here we go. Charlie Smith is going to have a chance to come from the rear. Davis and Ingram still out of the lead. Charlie Smith coming on. It's close. Charlie Smith wins it. Charlie Smith in plain vanilla at 972. 149.50. A beautiful run. Runner-up 10:01 at 140.18 miles per hour. Charlie Smith in plain vanilla is competition eliminator here in 1964 at the NHRA National Championship Drags. Okay, coming out now is a great competitor, former World Points Champion winner, former Mr. Eliminator, and many times class winner here at the NHRA Nationals, Jack Chrisman from California, driving his wild SFX fuel-burning Comet. Now, because Jack is burning fuel, he could not fit in any of the competition classes here, so very gamely, Jack ran in B Fuel Dragster. He was eliminated earlier, but out here now for a tire-smoking, high-winding run in a supercharged, fuel-injected, fuel-burning Comet Caliente is Jack Chrisman, 10:24. 1:55.17, a beautiful run by Jack Chrisman. Well, right now, standing with me here at our microphones, and a couple of real happy guys, the crew of the Linnemood Branstner Dodge Color Me Gone. First thing I would like to ask, Roger, as far from the driving standpoint, at what time did you figure you had the race won?
Halfway down the track. I threw both hands in the air. I knew I had it won.
You really had her going. Dick, you must be pretty happy as owner and tuner. How do you feel about the win?
Still no.
Still numb, huh?
Absolutely.
You're not back in the world of the living yet, huh? Okay, well, great win and congratulations from the bottom of our hearts to both of you.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Good going, gentlemen. Great run.
Thank you.
Here comes Top Gas Eliminator in the tower lane from Atlanta, Georgia. In lane number 1, it's Sneaky Pete Robinson. In lane number 2, it's Gordon Collett. Pete won this Top Gas Eliminator in 1961. He runs a super light Chevrolet powered car. Against him is the super quick Chrysler powered Stucky framed machine of Gordon Collett from Portsmouth, Ohio. It's Gordon Collett in the lead. Pete Robinson going hard. Winner at the end of the quarter mile. Gordon Collett takes it. Gordon Collett, National Gas Champion, Top Gas Eliminator for 1964. The elapsed time, 8:47. Boy, what a beautiful run. 182.92 miles per hour. And Gordon Collett becomes once again the collector, as he collects the top awards on gas here at the NHRA Nationals. Gordon Collett from Portsmouth, Ohio. Among his prizes is a brand new 1965 Ford Mustang. Here it comes, Top Fuel. Here comes from Tampa, Florida, Big Daddy himself, Don Garlits of Tampa, Florida. Low ET of the meet at 775 is in Garlits' hands, and against him from Bakersfield, California, the fantastic Chrysler-powered AA fuel dragster of Crosley, Williams, and Swan. This is an important run for both cars. Garlits has been a bridesmaid here for many a year, but never a winner. Crosley, Williams, and Swan are going for the World Points Championship. It's Don Garlits in lane number 1, Crosley, Williams, and Swan in lane number 2, Spectator Lane. Here we go. The tires are now being cleaned off. The big, long Chrysler-powered dragsters, running on 90% nitromethane, are hurtling as they come to the starting line. Crosley, Williams, and Swan have a brand new engine in their car for this race. Watch it closely. Here they come to the starting line. Don Garlits in lane 1. Crosley, Williams, and Swan in lane 2. Big Daddy going on hard. It's close. It's close. Winner at the end of the quarter mile. Don Garlits wins it. Don Garlits wins it. And the crowd goes wild. A beautiful run. Don Garlits, 767 at 198.22 miles per hour. And Don Garlits, the greatest champion ever to hit the sport of drag racing, has finally won the culmination of his 15 years in drag racing, the greatest award that any drag racing driver can win, Top Fuel Eliminator.
So do you figure that you were in trouble to the 8th mile, is that right now?
Yeah, I was a little worried at the 8th mile because I could still see him, and he was definitely ahead, and the car hadn't made its top end surge yet, see? And about the 1,000-foot mark, it was heads up, and then all of a sudden, the baby came on and says, zap, you know, half a car.
zap half a car. And that's the story of drag racing. Well said by Don Garlits. Zap, it was half a car. Oh, fantastic.
Thank you, Art.
Now listen, perhaps I should ask you this too. I noticed you were mentioning to Art Crispin that this may be your last year, Don. What do you think? What are your thoughts about this?
I've got several real nice offers from some big companies for consultation jobs, and I believe I'm probably going to hang the helmet up. Maybe I'll race through, possibly through the big races in the spring. I don't know. It might all end when I get back from England. I'm not sure. It all depends on what comes up, and I've got several offers that I'm considering.
Well, if you do quit, you'll be quitting at the
driver's seat only.
Right.
In other words, I'll still build cars. I'm at the present time buying property in Detroit. I'm going to open a business there. This will have nothing to do with whatever else I do. I'm going to do that irregardless. I'm going to build these dragsters just like this. I'm going to sponsor a couple of cars, probably give a car away at the Nationals next year. That's my intentions.
Very good.
You know, ready to bolt your engine in.
Get out there and go racing like Big Daddy used to do.
That's right. That's my intentions right now.
Well, if you do cease driving and stay in the building business, of course, drag racers throughout the United States are going to miss you, but you certainly are quitting at what even somebody who is unconscious about the sport of drag racing could call the peak of one of the most fabulous careers, and probably one that will be written up in magazine and book form for the next several years is probably one of the most fantastic careers in auto racing that has ever been lived by anybody.
Well, John, you know, it's my feeling at this point that I can do more for drag racing if I have more time to devote to it. And driving the car, maintenance in the car, making these races week after week after week, steadily trying to stay ahead. You can't get into it. There's a lot of guys that need help. There's a lot more that I could be doing. And I've had a thrill. I've been up and down as fast as anybody has. I've won a lot of races, and I want to move into a different era.
I see what you mean. Well, the only thing I can say to that is that in or out of the driver's cockpit, Don, you're still the greatest.
Thank you very much, John.
Don't give it up, John.
This is the voice of drag racing. It's been my pleasure to narrate this album for you, and we dedicate it to Big Daddy Don Garlits. Listen to Big Daddy on his way to the top.
Garlits